good afternoon, everyone. I am super excited to be able to bring our first stream of our Marvel Rivals Draft Tournament, the second tournament that the Union Discord server has hosted. And I have to give you guys the story behind how this all started. So, my now wife and I are both esports fanatics, you could say. I now do it for my job, running a team in Norman, Oklahoma at Norman North High School. She has been involved in it both collegiately and as a manager for years. Part of the reason that we met, and actually the reason I got into coaching, is exclusively to her benefit. It is an absolutely wonderful opportunity that we get to interact with our community every single day. And we decided what wouldn't be a better way to celebrate not only us getting married with an Overwatch tournament, the game that we met, basically not necessarily competing in, but doing parts in. We decided to continue this trend with another game that we have grown to love, Marvel Rivals, one that has grown in popularity and has been a very healthy competitor to Blizzard Activision's Overwatch and Overwatch 2. One of the best things that's happened to the game in a very long time is the making of Marvel Rivals, and Marvel Rivals itself, an absolutely wonderful title that we get the privilege to construct teams and compete head-to-head on. A little bit of a preview of how this tournament is going to be different than the previous tournament. I am still very fortunate that I will be the person that you guys get to see as Avid, the man leading the draft for this tournament, but this will likely be the last time that you see my face for our entertainment for the tournament, as my wife and I are switching roles, where she competed in the Overwatch tournament as a player and I was your caster and producer. She will be taking the reins on the production side, and I will be joining this tournament as a competitor. And what a better segue to start talking about some of the wonderful members of this tournament and what tiers you all ended up in. As you take a look at our very fancy, extremely expensive spreadsheet that we have put together, our high tier is consisted of 3 different captains: Bri Brightino, Bacon, and Shad Toa. All of which, are very exceptional players within their own. One thing that's great about being a high tier captain is not only should you have a fairly solid understanding of the game, whether you had hit a high rank in the past or are currently still competing, it gives you a strategy to what is most important within all of the game itself. What roles are most impactful? Where can I fill my strengths and weaknesses at certain points? It gives you a huge plethora of knowledge that can't be used by the medium and low tier captains. Let's take a look at those. Nokia Val, DJ Superman, and Get Snapped are your mid-tier captains. 3 challenging the high-tier captains, and get the privilege of some earlier picks. For the order in today's draft, we have a single low-tier captain, Owlboy, who is our very first pick within the draft. And then it goes in order on the highlight of your screen. So Owlboy, Get Snapped, DJ Superman, Nokia Val, and then your high tiers in the order from bottom to top. And of course, you are not here to just listen to me yap into the camera. You are here to see what team you potentially could become a champion on. So look no further, as our captains have been working exceptionally hard to get this draft to you in the best way possible. And so, our first pick in the Honeymoon Draft Tournament, the statement pick coming out, is from Owlboy of Cyber Owls. We'll be taking Pressure FNCS as the number 1 pick in the draft. Excellent work by him. A incredibly talented player and leader on lots of teams. He is one of my current students and a Marvel Rivals competitor of mine. He will be a huge difference maker in this tournament. It is to no surprise that he was the first person to be taken off of this draft. One thing I want to point out is that we changed how we collected information within our draft this time. Last form, we just asked for peak rank, right? And Overwatch is a 10-year-old game. Marvel Rivals, even though much younger, still has had a lot of growth within the years that it has been a live platform. We decided to give our captains some extra information, right? We wanted to make sure that they knew, are you going to draft the guy who's been washed for 2 years, but maybe at one point was at the top of his game? Or are you going to get someone who maybe is having the best game right now in the current season, but they're a little bit lower lower on the tier list. And that's where Pressure Evan CS is a fantastic pick, as he's a current player, currently dedicated to the game, and a high tier player. And that's where I have to reluctantly say, what a horrible mistake from Get Snapped, the second captain, drafting myself as the second overall pick of this tournament, as Avid Ryan, aka Granddad, is taken off of the board. I hit one above all at the very, very beginning of the game, and I've been around coaching it for an extremely long time, but mechanically we have some rust to kick off, to say the least, for our team. But it is an absolute pleasure to be going to Get Snap's team, aka the Chuds, which I will have to probably live with that title for the rest of the school year as I go and coach my team that is competing within this tournament. But hey, it's okay. We live our lives and we will move on. The third overall pick in the draft is also a high tier player. We have Lesbians being taken off of the board. A fantastic player within himself, highly dedicated to the game, and possibly one of the best flex options within the entire tournament. Able to pick up any role and learn a character extremely quickly. The other thing I want to point out is there was a lot of concern within our Discord of how the season changes were going to affect the tournament, and those come out the 10th of July, the first day of competition, along with a new character, a new map, and essentially a completely rework to how the team up function is in the game Marvel Rivals. I could not be more excited. This now becomes a tournament less about the experience of each of the players and more about their aptitude to understand the game. They are going to have less than 12 hours to figure out completely a new functionality of the game that they once knew fundamentally and apply it at the highest stage. You have 2 days to figure it out, and that's where some of these players like Lesbians are going to be able to make an impact. The fourth pick off the board is It's Daniel, who I believe will be our first mid-tier taken off the board. Yes, the top of mid-tier being taken. Not shocking, seeing that he is the only previous Celestial that was bumped down to the lower tier from high tier. An excellent job. One thing I love about these draft tournaments is that it is not like the tournaments that you see from the NBA draft or the NFL. You're not taking the very, very best player in the entire tournament right at the beginning. It could be more of a strategy to take the best middle tier and best low tier player in the draft, because the gap between a middle and a low tier at the height of those tiers could be way greater than, for example, a low-tier diamond player and someone who's never opened Marvel Rivals before. And we do have a few members in this tournament who have indeed played the game maybe 3 times in their entire life. And so, excellent strategy coming out from one of our captains, Elijah, with Val Sucks. Excellent strategy by him. Let's keep it going. We have Team 5-star now with the pick. He will be taking Cloud OK off the board, aka LeBurger, a PC Eternity peak. Eternity being the rank right before one above all, a point system that you have to get to be able to reach the top 500 in the world ranking. And so Eternity players are still a top 1,000 player in the world most of the time. Incredibly talented. Do not let the fact that they have not hit the highest rank in the game say that they at one point were not one of the best players in the entirety of the category. Not only is he an Eternity player, but also the first PC player we get within our draft board within the high tiers. Excellent pick. None of these first rounds are obviously going to be bad ones. And Team WoW is up. Bacon, a collegiate Marvel Rivals champion and another high-tier captain. He will be taking, it looks like, Super Shy Boy 11. Lots of captains opting to get their high-tier players first, their teammates, right, that they're going to use to take away, right, these valuable flex players, right, the minds of the game. They want to make sure that they get their highest of high-tier players first. Obviously a strategy we have seen before. And then you have Syndicate, aka Bry, at the turn. The last of our first round picks. He's actually able to pick 2 individuals within this round, and it is to no shock that the next one above all player and also his duo for life, Score Streaks, is his pick in the first round. Whoever let this happen, captains, has made a horrific mistake. Cloud Streak's an incredibly talented player within his own right, but Tino, a tournament finalist in the Overwatch draft tournament on tank, even though he, like me, is a little bit rusty, I think his ability to impact the game will see no bounds as long as he has a couple days to kick off the rust, which he absolutely will. Him getting his duo for life, another incredibly talented player. Just with them two alone, they are going to cause mayhem within this tournament. And now we have the pick on the turn. Both high tiers already out of the game for Tino's Syndicate, so he looks downward in the tier, taking Misa, a console GM player, who will be removed from the board. An excellent pick by them, going for more of the strategist look there. And now Bry has his turn over with 2 double picks. He gets to sit in the spectator's box for quite a bit as we now continue to move within our draft with Bacon, with Team WoW up. He will be picking Legendary in this draft, a PC Grandmaster player, a Season 1 duelist hit, so a little bit of a older player in terms of the skill and the frequency, but again, Bacon is a collegiate champion. He knows how to run a team, and there are many of his teammates hidden within this draft that he's likely going to be looking to take off the board, Legendary possibly being one of them. Great pick by Bacon, the captain of Team WoW. Honeywings is the next pick for Shad Toa, our last high-tier captain here in round 2. A fantastic tank player. One of the things within our documents that we're able to grab is we truly can't display to you the value that you can get from some of these. Rank does not mean everything, right? Having a player that has scrimmed often and competed a ton, but maybe hasn't hit the highest rank in the game can still be more valuable, 2 or 3 ranks up than someone who's just a ranked warrior solo queuing. This is one of those players that's going to be highly impactful within this draft holistically, whose rank does not do them justice. I have seen them take over games in the past. Truly an excellent pick from another University of Oklahoma collegiate player. Next, we have Val Sucks Elijah, now up on the board, looking for a pick here. He will be taking Crack Panther, immediately removed. A high-tier player, E-Man's Trash, will be picked up here. A competitor within our Overwatch tournament with good amount of success, a Season 1 duelist and strategist player. The flexibility is absolutely wonderful, especially with the new season. Who knows what compositions we might run into. That is the one thing I do really appreciate about Marvel Rivals comparatively to Overwatch, is that Overwatch decided that they didn't want to balance their game correctly, so they had to put in role queue. 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. In Marvel Rivals, if everyone is broken, no one is broken. Therefore, you see compositions of 3 tanks, 3 supports, 2 2-2s, 2 1-3s, 1 2-3s, all across the board. Okay? So that is one thing, that flexibility truly matters in a tournament like this, where in Overwatch, getting a role specialist is helpful because switching it around usually isn't going to give you that much of an impact. Where on the other hand, being able to swap someone inside of the game to a duelist or a strategist gives you a leg up in situations that might seem dire. Next up on our draft board is the DJ Vibes. DJ being your captain for here, obviously another high-tier player and a great friend of mine, Purple Kid, will be removed from here. Incredible competitive experience, a great leader on his team. The vibes are always immaculate for DJ Vibes, which is why he wanted to pick someone who could match his energy. Purple Kid, a very talented strategist player on console and a high-tier player within this tournament. Nice pick from him. The Chuds are now on the board. Now, with a little bit of bias, I have to say, okay, because now I'm on this team. So, our captain will be judged for his picks, but I cannot judge him for his next one as he chooses his next high-tier player, Tate Thy Great, aka I Love a Macchiato, who has been picked up as the last high tier player who is on console, formerly a Fortnite player, I believe. He has been picked up, played at JBU for some time, considered even going to grad school just so he could come back and play for the Marvel Rivals team there. A great friend of Cam's as well. And he has a good amount of experience in the Marvel Rivals scene, lots of love for the game. So I especially am happy to have another high tier player who isn't as rusty as I am. So who'll be able to help me out in some of the strategies that we're going to run that aren't so old-minded, you could say. Next up, we have Cyber Owls at the turn in round 2 of the draft. This is the last pick of round 2. Owlboy taking Miss Fury, an Eternity player, strategist player, who actually has a relationship with Britino. Likely unfortunate that he's not able to grab that player off of the board. But again, an Eternity ranked player in Season 1 as a strategist and an incredibly talented Overwatch player within her own right. Absolutely great pick by him. This person fell deep within the draft. This is an absolute steal for the Cyber Owls. And then we get to the turn where he will be selecting Maz12 as his next player here. We are now heading into round 3. This is where a lot of the money makers of the draft lie, in the middle ground. Round 3 and 4 is where you find your diamonds in the rough, right? Players that might not be valued super high, that have high impact, but it's also where you might bust on a pick, right? You might pick somebody who has a really high rank or is a little rusty like myself, and they begin to underperform. This is your money rounds, ladies and gentlemen. These are your players to watch for the tournament as Maz is taken off the board. Next pick going to the Chuds is Sims 3, a very talented support player, strategist player, Marvel Rivals, and a great friend of mine who had recently moved away tragically, but we get a little bit of a reunion as teammates within this draft tournament. So absolutely wonderful. Great news is that they will likely be facing, not likely, they will be facing against their husband in this tournament. So you can imagine there will be some quite friendly or not so friendly rivalries between the two of them. I also am pretty confident they actually play from the same room. So I imagine the trash talk will be absolutely immense if they have to play against each other in pool play or in bracket. That'll be a fun encounter to be able to hear from a personal side as Sims 3 is taken off the board. The DJ Vibes now on our turn here as he takes Mathayanami, a student of mine, okay, who competed in the Overwatch tournament with a pretty good amount of success, making out of pool play there, but Marvel Rivals is certainly his game. Extremely talented, lots of scrim experience, but he is being picked up as our first low-tier pick in the draft. Again, I said this in the last draft tournament, and people didn't listen to me, and we're going to see if this bites anybody in the butt. But truly, these captains need to understand that the money is in these low and mid-tier picks. The difference between a low-tier player who is diamond or platinum and a unranked player who's barely played the game is a much greater gap than a celestial player and a one above all player. It is a canyon between the skills between these players. So being able to get the low tier player you want, one of two that you will have to pick within this draft early, has tons of value with it. Very, very tactical from the DJ Vibes to get this man on your roster. Val Sucks now on the board will be taking Noir Assassin, who self-proclaims that he is the best Iron Man in North America. Hard to believe, seeing that he's only a diamond player, but I appreciate the confidence from him. Another low tier being taken off the board, likely going to be filling a duelist slot for Val Sucks. Next up is Team 5-Star with Chateau, and now back into the high tier captains. A good friend of mine that I met over at Oklahoma State University through mutual friends, Gregator, will be picked here. A mid-tier PC Grandmaster player with lots of experience in the game and has been very active within our Discord, keeping track of all of the new team-ups and interactions within the game. He will be a valuable add to this team purely for his love of information about the game. Excellent pick from them. Now up, we have Bacon with Team WoW, getting what I believe could be one of the sleeper picks of the draft, a mid-tier player named Silent. This is a great friend of mine who I competed on a competitive Overwatch team with, who has very limited experience within Rivals themselves, but an incredibly high game IQ, wonderful mechanics himself, and obviously just a great teammate to be around. He was a groomsman in my wedding. Silent being taken off of the board here as we get to another turn. Brightino no longer has to spectate in this draft as he now gets 2 picks of his choice from the available options. And the next pick we will see is the Rick Friend, aka the Bra 3000, being added to Syndicate's roster. Again, the bromance duo that they were able to achieve here, being added as your third pillar. A great team to be on, full of wonderful leaders, and is available here. Syndicate will also be taking a low tier player, K Panda, on console, a unranked player who doesn't have much experience in the game, started playing it fairly recently, but lots of Overwatch experience. Again, these are people that have tons of game IQ. Overwatch being another hero shooter that requires you to have a great amount of thought, that even they are inexperienced in Rivals themselves, there will be some growing pains there. There are absolutely some pieces of information they can take and apply within the Marvel Rivals scene. And having 2 days under the leadership of Brightino and Cloudstreaks, I imagine they will have plenty to learn and will learn so successfully. A great turn by Syndicate. Next up, we have Team WoW and Bacon, who will be taking a good close friend of his, Kotick, will be picked up here. Okay, this is a game that he competed in the Overwatch tournament, has barely any experience within it as a whole, but Rivals found his heart a little bit more. A mechanical demon, most of his time being spent in Siege. He will absolutely have an impact as a low-tier pick. Great job, especially as close friends of each other. It makes absolute sense that Bacon has added Kotick to his roster. Team 5-star also going for a low-tier pick, as Caitlyn Tien will be taken off of the board, a recent Marvel Rivals player who has been learning the game, who recently hit gold, an excellent strategist player with lots of fresh knowledge and perspective on the game. Again, the high tier of the low tiers is where your moneymakers are, and Shadtoa understands that now, as I believe he has grabbed both of his low tiers now completely off of the board. Nice work getting in those early. Val Sucks now on the podium looking for his pick. And now that he is on the podium, he decides to pick up Pandemonium, a esports player over at Bigsby in Oklahoma. I believe a former middle school player with lots of scrim experience. That will be a draft from Val Sucks. Absolute fantastic pick by them, adding themselves to the roster. And we only have a few more picks left as we are going into the final part of our 5th round, and we get to see our 6th round picks very, very shortly. Pandemonium being taken off the board. The DJ Vibes looks to extend their roster, and they pick up Mr. PBNJ, a low-tier pick here who competed in our Overwatch tournament, still learning quite a bit about the game, but has hit silver on PC here and will be able to impact the game in ways against other low tiers that you hope to be a good prospect, right? Excellent work from Mr. PB&J, aka Little Angry Stump. He has been added to the DJ Vibes, hoping to keep those vibes rolling. Next up is the Chuds, the team that I was fortunately drafted to. They will be picking up a low-tier support player by the name of the Cleric. The Cleric is actually the father of Mathianami, who is in this draft, competed in the Overwatch tournament, and is a great personal friend of mine. I can promise you that him and I will be personally motivated to stomp whatever team that their son is on, as I and him especially don't want to hear that trash talk at home and at school if we happen to lose to them. So I am happy that he has been added to the team that I was fortunate to be drafted to and get snapped with the Chuds. A wonderful pick from him. We are now at the turn. Cyber Owls, aka led by Owlboy, will now be picking up Ice Shadow 1703. Again, not a lot of experience within Marvel Rivals itself, but a very, very talented Overwatch player, mechanically gifted within his own right, and a very high tier of the low tiers. Excellent pick by him, solidifying a nice duelist player that's going to get impact especially on some of the characters that are more utility based. Cyber Owls does, however, have another pick at the turn. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the final round of our draft. If you have not been picked yet, don't you worry. You're about to find your home very soon. 4 low tiers remain within this tournament, as well as 1 high tier and 2 middle tiers. Let's see the order in which they go. And the first person off the board in the final round is Moomasher, a console mid-tier hitting Grandmaster at some point within the game. Make it Season 2, but a Vanguard and Strategist player. So playing the most impactful role in the game, which is likely Strategist, and having the mental fortitude to play Vanguard. I salute thee for the flexibility that they will bring to these Cyber Owls as Cyber Owls wraps up their team holistically. Excellent work from Owl Boy with his 6 picks that he is able to grab. Last pick for the Chuds, Get Snapped, will be selecting Tusk TV, aka Super Fun Guy 60. Again, another great friend of mine, a strategist player with a love for the game, and especially a love for Marvel. He was an usher in my wedding. I've been friends with him since high school. It is, again, very, very, very warming to me to be able to see that he is on the team that I happen to get drafted to. A great player within his own right, and will certainly bring a good amount of knowledge into our team, even just as a low tier pick. We'll be able to dissect these new changes, hopefully better than everybody else. But hey, I'm not going to talk crap on you guys. We still have lots to get through, and that is where the DJ Vibes will have their last pick, taking Bublet, a previous The Union Draft Tournament champion. A little story about Bublet. He is a John Brown University recruit collegiate player who picked up on Ron 2 days before the Overwatch tournament. He then proceeded to dominate on the character. So even though he is in the mid-tier, he certainly has fantastic mechanical ability, and he has proven time and time again he has an ability to pick up characters and learn the game quickly. He is a steal within the rounds. The last round, you let a former draft champion fall this low. Excellent recognition from DJ, and I don't even know if he knew that. I'm pretty sure he put it into the description. I'm pretty sure he did. But Bublet, a great centerpiece for this team, even just as a mid-tier and not a high-tier pick. He will be incredibly impactful for this team. Next up, we have Val Sucks Elijah at the podium, who will be taking Snowcut, the last high-tier player, who honestly could be one of the best duelist players in the entire draft. Even though he is a console player, he has hit Celestial, he hard grinds the game, his mechanics are astounding, he's a great vibe to have within a team, he has everything that you would need, and he was the last high tier picked. But again, there really isn't a bad pick in the high tiers, right? And so he's going to be a crucial member of this team, getting a fantastic pick late within this draft again, as Team 5-Star is now up. 3 players left on the board, all of which are low tiers. Team 5-Star has the pick of these 3 and will be taking Kim Tim, the highest of the ranks currently available, hitting silver in PC. The season in which she did that was season 4, so still a little bit has some experience. Season 4 wasn't too long ago, and has some experience scrimming and in the middle school scene, who I now probably is going to be an upcoming freshman within this tournament. But excellent job from him. Falling it to a low tier pick with scrim experience is really a steal. So, no, I'm getting insider information. He'll be an 8th grader. So still getting some experience over there. But again, he'll be an excellent addition into this team, hoping to continue that champion streak up with his new team, Team 5-Star from Shatatoa, an excellent leader within his own right. The last 2 picks are Team WoW and Syndicate. Bacon, the leader of Team WoW. He will be taking Jesse is back, aka God A Trust, a unranked Marvel Rivals player with tons of passion for the game. Obvious when you look within our Discord. He's been interacting with everybody, has been a loving face for everyone to be able to interact with. It's absolutely wonderful to see him competing within our tournament. We wish for more people like him, and an excellent addition into Team WoW. Bacon gets an absolute steal with the last. And of course, the very last pick of the draft is Pack Opener, a unranked player who says that he has only played about 3 matches within the game, but I have to talk him up a little bit. Okay, because I was fortunate enough within Season 0 to compete in Marvel Rivals Championships, going a fairly far distance. And at one point within that tournament, this guy did fill for a match, and we did win that match, even though he had barely played Rivals before. Rocket can do amazing things if you just hold down a trigger and aim in one direction. So even though he has now played Marvel Rivals a lot, he certainly has experience at the high level. So that is our draft concluded, everyone. And now, again, I don't advertise this actively because this is usually where a few people get a little bit upset at me. Okay? But what would be a good draft and a good conclusion to the draft if we didn't take some time telling you guys just how good or bad we think the captains did in this draft itself? So we will be handing out draft grades for each of our teams. Now, again, I do not know everyone within here. Y'all are friends of friends, some of which I know personally, some of which I don't. But please be kind. We're doing our best out here, and just know it's all in great fun, and if you're targeted directly, it probably means that you got the confidence to be able to handle it. But of course, I gotta tell you what my initial thoughts are, so let's get to it. Cyber Owls, led by Owl Boy. A low-tier player, likely going to be picking up the Vanguard role. Ice Shadow, also a low-tier player. Duelist. Both low tiers on this team are exceptional, right? I love getting to see these teams that take their low tiers early. They don't want to get into a situation where they have a player who has barely played the game before, might still be passionate and willing to learn, but it's a hill that you have to climb, right? You don't want to start from ground zero. You want to start from level 1, right? And so, excellent low tier picks from them. Maz and Mooster, great mid tiers to be able to fill this team out. And Miss Fury, who I do believe fell pretty far within this draft, getting picked up as a Eternity level strategist player. And Pressure, a great team leader, has a connection to Owlboy as they competed on a Marvel Rivals team together at one point, and is extremely flexible in any role that they play. When I look at this team, I truly don't see any big weaknesses. They got a few steals within the draft that absolutely are going to help their class move up, right? And they're not going to have a single player who is wandering around aimlessly, right? People who aren't just here for the love of the game. This is a competitive team that is here to win, and a great captain who was able to pick some steals, which is extremely difficult when you have the first pick in the entire draft. So, because of that, I am going to give them an A on this. Maybe not an A+, right? We have some question marks within some of the players here. We don't know if they're all incredible in which that they were drafted, but I see no big issue within this team. This is a championship potential team, and they absolutely are going to bring the heat this tournament. The next team, I'll answer non-biasedly. We have the Chuds, led by Get Snapped, the captain for this team. Myself as a high tier, as well as Tate Thy Great. Again, a Fortnite player at JBU with lots of love to Marvel Rivals. I knocked this team down a little bit because even though I once hit one above all, I am a little rusty at the game. I have tons of knowledge from coaching it for years and years and years since the game has been out. But mechanically, we got some things to learn, guys. I'll admit it. Okay, we're humble. We're humble around here. Tate Thy Great, though, a very talented mechanical player who obviously is passionate about the game. Part of the reason he almost built the Marvel Rivals community at his college while it was there. He is an absolutely fantastic ad. Got him within the second round, right? Get Snapped and Sims 3 are both very sneaky mid-tiers in my opinion. Get Snapped, a really talented Vanguard player as a mid-tier. One of the things that is going to be dangerous, though, is that some of the best players in this tournament, in my opinion, are the Vanguard players, right? Especially from those that are coming from the OU collegiate scene. Those are the ones that can be especially scary. I won't dox the character that Bacon is especially good at, but at one point he was like a top 10 of a Vanguard in the game in North America. Very, very scary. And so having a mid-tier Vanguard can be a little intimidating at that, but if I want it to be anyone, I want it to be Get Snipped. Sims 3 is also incredibly good, grinds the game, often is mechanically extremely fresh, a great vibe to have on a team, and really snuck this pick late within the draft. Your low tiers, the Cleric and Tusk TV, both a very, very good understanding of the game, especially in the low tier category. And so with our team, even though I don't think our team has a lot of 1-2 punch like you might see from some of the very, very best players within the entire draft, I do think our team is holistically pretty solid and has a chance is going to pick up some games. And so I'm going to give our team realistically a B. Okay, possibly a B plus, but because I'm on it, we're going to be humble. We're not going to try to over impress what we think the draft might be, but I think we're B plus, somewhere around there, right? So absolutely solid draft over from Get Snapped, hoping that we can get the job done as a competitor, non-biased, of course. Next up, we have the DJ Vibes, okay? A mid-tier captain along with Get Snapped. His team, in my opinion, is looking really solid, okay? Lesbians and Purple Kid are the high-tier players on this team. Lesbians, an extremely flexible player, could play any role within this tournament at a high level. And I mean that as a high tier level. He could bring it on the Vanguard if you need him to. His strategist is clean and his duelist roster is exceptional. Anything this team is going to need in terms of team ups or composition, this guy's got it. And Purple Kid has had so much competitive experience on his own as a strategist player, as a game manager. He is incredibly valuable. These two high tiers, especially together with flexibility and the macro knowledge Purple Kid brings, this is going to be an impressive team led by two powerhouses. Next up, you have the captain, DJ Superman, and Bublet. Bublet, the previous Overwatch draft tournament winner, was on here. I believe he may actually be the only person from that team who is competing in the Marvel Rivals tournament as a competitor, but picks up the game exceptionally easy, right? He is an absolute steal, especially because he fell to the last round when he got picked. Mathianami, also an excellent pick. Getting him early as a low tier automatically is going to raise your draft grade. Getting the best low tiers available in the draft, again, to me, I think is the best strategy you can have as a captain. Mr. PB&J, also within the Overwatch draft tourney. An excellent player, very willing to learn and outgoing. And so, with this team, again, like last, I don't see a lot of weaknesses, but to me, there's a lot of steals and synergy hidden within this team. Bublet and Mathianami raising the draft grade exponentially by where they were picked and by making sure that there was a big gap between your low tiers. Lesbians and Purple Kid being a dynamic duo within themselves, covering maybe every single piece of information you would want to have from your high tier players. This team, I am going to give a A+. Not necessarily a S tier team, but they are close. Very, very close to being a S tier team. This is a team to look out for, loving putting targets on people's backs. The DJ Vibes. If you end up playing against them in pool play, make sure to go after them and really take it to them. Next up, we have Val Sucks, led by the captain of Nokia Val, aka Elijah, within Discord. This is a team that will be rather interesting as both high-tier players, I believe, have their best role as duelist. In my opinion, duelist is probably the least impactful role in the game, but the gaps between duelist players can be extreme. So having two high-tier duelist players, I think, is the most dramatic gap, right, between a mid-tier duelist and a high-tier duelist. So really an excellent job. Getting a little bit of word that Crack is a support player. Still exceptionally important. Strategist, I believe personally is the most impactful role in the game. Nokia and Daniel surrounding off in the mid-tiers. Daniel, having a lot of fun in the Overwatch tournament, decided to make an appearance within our Marvel Rivals 1. I believe Valorant being his main game of choice. Love to see him back here. It was really, really impactful. And I believe was a captain in the Overwatch tournament. Had a solid team there as well. This time taking a sideline. No, not a captain. Totally lied. My fault. Hey.
Daniel.
Huh?
Daniel.
Ah, yes. That's what I was talking about. I said Daniel.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you mentioned.
See, the one thing is when you get married, you got to get used to your wife correcting you, even though that you maybe said something that was right. So really the honeymoon phase, ending quickly as she sits next to me and we correct information that didn't necessarily need to be corrected, which is totally fine. Daniel, being a former captain on the Overwatch tournament, makes his appearance again. Really happy to be able to see him here. His low tiers, Pandemonium and Noir being picked up. Noir, the Iron Man player, self-proclaimed best Iron Man in North America. Pandemonium, a great player with extensive esports experience as a low tier, getting a lot of that from Bigsby Middle School. Lots of those players are lurking around in here. I love the Snow Cup pick late, right? Absolutely love it. Daniel's a fantastic player. You got some high tier, low tier players. This is a solid draft. I'm going to give this one a minus. Okay. Only reason you guys do get a lower pick than some of the other teams doesn't come from your abilities, does come a little bit from my personal knowledge of this team itself. The only ones I'm personally connected to being Snoka and Noir Assassin from what I've seen, okay, from you guys as competitors. I believe this is still a really, really prominent team that can do some damage within this tournament. And now let's get over to some of our other teams within the draft. These three being the high-tier captains within the draft. And I absolutely want to emphasize this. I think this side of the draft may have been holistically the most successful. We might be handing out some of our first S-tier picks for one of these three teams. Let's see it happen, right? Shad Toa on his pick. He takes up Caitlyn, Gregator, Honeywings, Cloud OK, and Kim Tim. No weakness here. The only problem that I have a little bit is in the low tier category, right? Caitlyn picking up the game fairly recently, but hitting gold within the recency. You're going to miss a little bit out on the information there, but still a fantastic player within her own right. Kim Tim, another great low tier player. Gregator, an absolute fantastic mind of the game, already has a huge head up on the new changes happening in the season. And Honeywings, I believe, is probably one of the best steals within the draft. An absolute game manager, incredibly impactful within all of the Vanguards that they are able to play, and it is a deep roster in the Vanguards they are able to play, but can also pick up any other role that you need to, and can play it at a pretty high level. Being Grandmaster does not give them justice. They're on my esports team as a student, and they can tell you themselves I wouldn't give them the hype if they didn't deserve it. I think this Honeywings pick could be one of the steals of the tournament because they could be playing like a high-tier player when it comes to Friday and Saturday. And Cloud OK, aka Ledberger, a great pick on the high tiers. Shad Toa, also a fantastic player. And so looking at this team here, not only do I not really see any weaknesses, right? The only maybe critique that we'd be able to get is I don't know if I would want a low tier strategist player, but even then, you pick your low tier early enough, you can make it happen, right? You can make it happen. There are some characters where their skill ceiling isn't that great, right? You get yourself a decent Cloak and Dagger, you get yourself a decent Rocket player, right? Or Ultron, you can figure it out, right? And so even though there would be some criticisms on having certain tiers and certain roles, I think they were covered fairly well, okay? And so I'm going to be honest. Maybe the hype is real. I think this is an S-tier team. I really do. I don't see any problems with this team. I think they have steals within the draft. I know that the players on this team are incredibly talented, capable, and competitive. So I know they're likely going to be playing together right after this draft ends, and they're going to make this happen. I think this could be the first S-tier grade that we are able to give in the Union Draft Tournament history. It happens here at the Honeymoon. Now, don't let the hype fool you. Everyone can bleed, right? Gods do fall, especially in Marvel Rivals. But at least from on paper, okay, I think this is an S-tier team. They're going to be capable. And if you do end up playing Team 5-star, you're going to need to bring the Thunder. 2 more grades to give out, and then we'll be explaining what our pools are for the tournament and a little bit of explanation of how that is going to work, especially with a odd number of teams. Team Woe, led by Bacon, takes up Super Shy Boy, Bacon himself, an extremely talented Vanguard player. Kid Gaming, and Silent on the mid tiers. Kotick and God A Trust being the 2 low tiers available here. This is one of those where you have some really great high tiers, right? They're going to meet expectation. Bacon, probably one of the best players in the entire tournament. Silent, I think, is a solid steal, but that's very biased as I've competed with him in the past. He's performed well in high-level tournaments, even from a Marvel Rivals standard, as of course, also from an Overwatch standard. Kotick, incredibly mechanically gifted, but there's gaps in everyone's play, right? Silent lacks experience. Kotick also lacks a little bit of game experience, but has the mechanics to back it up. Gotta Trust is extremely passionate, but lacks some mechanical experience. So every person from Silent down does have things they do need to work on, but at the same time, they have people that are able to complement those gaps. So again, this team isn't going to blow the roof off the place. I don't think they're necessarily worthy of an S tier, but I don't think they're worthy of a bad pick either. I'm going to give this team a B+ as their draft grading, right? Still really solid. I see a lot of potential with this team. I could never count Bacon out purely off of his leadership alone, but at the same time, they have things that they need to work on paper, right? With the information that we got here. Now, let's take a look at the last pick of the draft team, Syndicate, right? Brightino and Score Streaks are the high-tier players, and to be transparent, it makes me not want to play in the tournament as a competitor. These two are demons, right? Not only have they been duos for an extremely long time within their careers within Overwatch, I have close friends to myself. They're mutual friends of mine, have played with one of my former teammates that I competed with for a really long time. I know what these people are capable of. Brightino was in the finals of the Overwatch draft tournament as a tank player, basically putting his team on his back, and then we gave him his best friend on his team. These two people are going to have a great impact on the game, even if the rest of the people they picked up in the draft are struggling. That's going to give them a pretty decent grade on the draft. But of course, let's take a look at everyone else. Misa and the Rick Friend as their mid-tier picks, doing a fantastic job balancing out the roster. K-Panda and Pack, 2 unranked players as their low tiers. That is rough, right? You do end up getting your best friend. You have 2 former one above all players on your roster of the 3 one above all players in the tournament itself. But in return, you have to get some of the lowest of the low tiers to balance out your team. This is where you're going to have some problems within the team draft itself. Because of this big discrepancy, right? You have maybe some of the best players in the entire draft on one team, and you have possibly some of the worst. No offense to K-Panda and Pack. Extremely happy that you're here. It's just how the low-tier world works. It's some solid mid-tiers. This team is also going to get a B+, but for very different reasons, right? You have a team like Bacon's and Team Well where you have complements, right, to weaknesses. You cover each other. You help each other out. In Syndicate, it's a brute forcing of potential, right? Your high tiers could take over the game, but will you be able to support them enough to allow them to do it, right? It's a unstoppable object philosophy, right? So will that be possible? Will these weaknesses be exploited? Do they have the ability to not only take over the game offensively, but be utility-based enough to be defensive? That's where the question mark comes up for Syndicate, but still an incredibly capable team. And I am also extremely excited to say, and I truly mean this not from an entertainment perspective, purely from someone who does have a love for the game and loves getting to see y'all compete, I really don't think there's a bad team in this draft. I truly believe that. There's no captain who failed the draft or screwed their team over. One of the best things about these forms of tournaments is that how the format is 2 low tier, 2 mid tier, and 2 high tier. Every game could be close. The only reason that doesn't happen is if your draft is rough. Every captain had a solid draft. I would be baffled if we had any sweeps within this tournament. So be ready come Friday and Saturday, where you play in your best of 3 matches against your opponents. And of course, now that we have our draft grades out, I imagine you're wanting to see what kinds of teams you're going to be competing against in pool play. And here is your grand reveal. These will be posted in Discord, the brackets with the times you'll be competing against these teams shortly after the stream ends. But here is your pool play preview. Valsucks, Syndicate, the Cyber Owls, and Team WoW are in Pool A. Pool B is the Chuds, 5-Star, and DJ Vibes. Now let me explain to you how we're going to do this with odd teams because we want to make this as fair as humanly possible, right? Top 2 moves from each pool, right? So 2 teams are going to get knocked out of Pool A and only 1 team from Pool B. Pool B, obviously, is a weaker pool because there are less teams in it. It has nothing to do with the quality of the teams. When it comes to Saturday, we will have a bracket, okay? We also changed it a little bit because we will have 4 teams breaking instead of 6 or 8, right? It is a double elimination bracket. The teams that get out of Pool A have a much higher likelihood to be a higher seed in our Saturday tournament. Here's what that means. A 3-0 team will obviously be valued greater than a 2-0 team that makes it out of Pool B. So it's a near guarantee that a Pool A team will be first seed on Saturday, and a near guarantee that a last seed will likely come out of Pool B. So they will still have a power-protected advantage when it comes to Saturday. And again, this is a double elimination tournament, ladies and gentlemen. What that means is on Saturday, if you make it out of pools, you have to lose twice to be knocked out of the tournament. This is where loser runs are formed. This is where we get to see exciting champions, Davids and Goliath form. And that is why we decided to go with this format for Saturday's tournament. Those will be posted directly after our matches on Friday. But again, the top 2 teams will be moving on from each pool. Pool A nearly guaranteed the first slot. Pool B nearly guaranteed one of the bottom seeds. Top 2 coming out of each pool. These are the opponents that you will be facing. Brackets posted shortly within our Discord. It has been an absolute pleasure to be able to provide this draft experience to you guys. My name is Avid. Again, a little bit of an apology for a later stream as usual. Usually we get these out by 7 o'clock, but we're a little busy doing other things. And so had to push things back. If you ended up falling asleep or anything like that, please let friends know that weren't able to watch the draft, that there will be a VOD save to our Twitch channel where they can go back and see our analysis of the teams and, of course, what round they were possibly drafted in. And likely for the last time for this tournament, this is Avid signing off, having to get ready as a competitor, putting the cleats on and suiting up. I will see you guys out there on the battlefield, but still, from the bottom of my heart, best of luck. I hope you crush it. Look forward to the coverage from Hawk, my lovely wife, who will be casting and producing this lovely tournament. Have a fantastic night. I will be seeing y'all around and look forward to seeing the work you're going to do within your teams tomorrow and Friday.